Royal Fairytale, Leonor de Borbón and Prince Christian's romantic night revealed crescent moon. The palace lights glimmer, cameras flash. The world thinks they know the story. But a single evening rewrites everything. A secret night, two young royals, and whispers of a bond no one expected. What really happened behind the palace gates? A soft, velvet night settled over the ancient halls of the Spanish palace. Leonor de Borbón, heir to a centuries-old crown, stepped from her carriage beneath a canopy of stars. The air held the scent of jasmine and anticipation. Inside the grand ballroom, crystal chandeliers cast shimmering rainbows across marble floors polished by history. Every eye followed her as she crossed the threshold, poised, serene, yet unmistakably radiant. At the far end of the hall, a tall figure waited. Prince Christian of Denmark, equally young, equally bound by duty, stood with an expression caught between formality and something warmer. It was here, in this intersection of protocol and possibility, that the night began to unfold. From the first moment, the atmosphere was different. Instead of the usual stiff small talk and practiced smiles, the two shared quiet laughter, leaning toward each other as though the crowd had faded. They spoke in low tones, glances lingering just a second too long for pure diplomacy. The orchestra swelled with a waltz older than their grandparents, and when Christian offered his hand, Leonor accepted without hesitation. They moved together, not like distant monarchs in training but like two people who understood each other's world and weight. As their steps glided across the floor, conversations around them shifted. Courtiers noticed. Photographers tried to catch a hint of what was passing between them, but the expressions were fleeting, subtle, like candlelight. That was the first curiosity loop of the evening. Was this a moment of genuine closeness, or simply the polished courtesy of two royal heirs? Later, away from the center of the ballroom, they retreated toward a quiet balcony draped in midnight blue silk. Here, the stars above Madrid seemed close enough to touch. Leonor's voice, soft but animated, carried just enough for those nearby to catch fragments of laughter. Christian bent his head slightly, listening intently. A secret joke. A confession. The onlookers could only wonder. Another question ignited in the minds of the guests: was this the beginning of a private alliance or a public fairy tale? The narrative of the evening took on layers as speeches were made, toasts raised, and obligations fulfilled. Each time they returned to the crowd, their composure snapped back into royal poise, but the connection remained. This dynamic pacing of public duty and private rapport drew observers in, a rhythm of contrast, glittering formality followed by intimate interludes, like verses and chorus in a song. Through the night, details emerged that fed speculation. A rare smile from the usually reserved princess. Christian's subtle gesture of pulling out a chair before anyone else could. The way their eyes met during the closing toast, when the Danish delegation praised the enduring ties between their nations. Every answered question, are they simply friends, is this diplomatic, led to another, how deep does this bond go, and what might it mean for the future of two thrones? To understand the weight of that night, you must know the backdrop. Leonor's upbringing inside the strict framework of the Spanish monarchy, Christian's life as heir apparent in Denmark's modern yet tradition-rich court. Two lives of privilege, but also of constraint. The night at the gala offered a rare glimpse of them not as symbols but as young people navigating destiny and desire. That context lent every small gesture a deeper resonance. As the gala wound down, the music softened into a final, tender melody. Guests began to leave, yet the story did not end with the last note of the orchestra. Outside, in the moonlit courtyard, Leonor and Christian stood briefly before their respective entourages led them away. No words were audible, only a look exchanged, a look captured by a single camera flash that would later send newspapers into a frenzy. Was it farewell, promise, or simply gratitude? And so the curiosity loops continued. Each photograph from the evening spawned 100 interpretations. Each eyewitness account contradicted another. Some said the two spoke of state matters. Others swore they caught a glimmer of romance. The palace remained silent, offering no confirmation, allowing the story to breathe and grow. As this voiceover continues, imagine the sequence intercut with images: the glittering ballroom, the whispered conversations, the starlit balcony, the quiet exchange at the carriage door. Layer by layer, you're invited to relive the event, not as an outsider but as someone standing just a few steps away, feeling the tension of tradition colliding with emotion. In the final chapters of this narrative, draw back to the larger theme. This is not only about two young royals at a gala. It's about the timeless question of duty versus heart. It's about how every generation of monarchy faces the same challenge, and how, in a single evening, Leonor de Borbón and Prince Christian reminded the world that behind titles and protocols, there are human beings capable of warmth, humor, and perhaps love. End the script by leaving your audience with a resonant image: the palace lights dimming, carriages rolling into the night, and two young heirs returning to their separate countries with memories of an evening that the world will keep dissecting. A royal fairy tale, perhaps. A moment of connection, undeniably. And the story, like all great royal stories, is only beginning.